and is currently being held without bond. And, you know, these kinds of short-term rentals are, of course, very popular.
So we were wondering about safety and security standards. Join us right now via Zoom is crime victim attorney Pedro Echarte. Thanks so much for being here. Pedro, are short-term rentals held to the same safety and security standards as your regular hotels and resorts?
Well, thank you for having me. And no, they're really not. And that's one of the unfortunate things with this current industry that's growing so quickly. It's almost as big as the hotel industry at this point in time. But there are no regulations and there are no standards. So despite what people believe by using Airbnb and VRBO and the representations those platforms makes, the hosts are not held to any type of safety standards, security standards like you would expect in a hotel.
All right, so Pedro, what can a potential guest do then to help protect themselves? Are there questions that they should be asking the landlord maybe?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when you're talking about short-term rentals, you're having people come in from out of town to go into neighborhoods that they're not altogether, familiar with. And while it may seem like a nice neighborhood or a nice community, sometimes those places have problems. So yes, you need to ask the landlord. Have they had any claims at their home? Have they had any issues at their homes? Ask them if you have children and the home has a pool, what type of safety measures do you have? Do you have pool alarms, things of that nature? But also ask them about the neighborhood. What's been going on in the neighborhood? You can ask Airbnb and the other platforms as to what's going on. You can contact local law enforcement, but also just do Google searches. See what information is out there before you take your family and you stay in one of these homes without security and without everything else that a hotel would afford you.
I was going to say, Pedro, would they be obligated in any sort of way to disclose that something had been happening in the neighborhood, or is that completely up to the landlord themselves?
So in terms of the landlords, there's not anything necessarily requiring them to disclose, but you would think in common decency that they would. And I would get everything in writing. When you're having these communications with the landlord, it's not over the phone. Do it through the Airbnb app, do it through text messages, do it through emails. But verify. I cannot stress that enough, because a lot of these communities, there's entire communities that are built just for these short-term rentals, and they're becoming targets. And we're seeing it time and time again, especially in Central Florida, that these communities are becoming targets for criminals because they know that there's unsuspecting tourists inside of them.
All right, so as we're talking about landlords, what potential liability issues face landlords of the short-term rentals? Are there any?
Well, that's going back to Stuart's question. That's exactly the point. So if you're lying to your guests, and you're not making accurate representations about the condition of your home, about the safety features that you have in place, about the neighborhood, they can certainly be held liable in a civil case. And that can obviously, be expensive for them and potentially shut down their Airbnb business or their rental.
Last question, we'll let you go. What should renters look for before they book to make sure they're able to seek action in case of a fault on behalf of the property? I know we said asking the landlord about what could be going on, but is there anything else they should look for?
I think that's the most important thing, is just asking questions, making sure you're protected, documenting, doing your research as to the neighborhood, and just, use common sense. Look at the photos. When you get there, if the property doesn't look the same, if something's not right, don't stay there. It's not worth the risk.
All right, Pedro Echarte, thank you so much for joining us. Absolutely information that I'm sure our viewers are going to be using pretty quickly, because we have a lot of Airbnbs in our area.
A ton of them.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.